And today I would like to speak about science of observation. The points which I'm going to speak are taken from various books of which are written by Torquem Seradian. Also, I would like to name the books from which I've listed out the points. One is Human Nature. The second book is Consciousness, Volume 1. The third book is Subconscious Mind and Chalice. Fourth book is Atma Vidya. Fifth book is Meditation Volume 3. And the sixth book is Psyche and Psychism. Torquem has written about the observation in all the six books. Okay. Uh, when we say science of observation, what exactly is observation? As per Torquem, he says that observation is a process to make ourselves see things exactly as they are. He says that some people might observe at a 1% level, some people might observe at 10%, some people might observe up to 50%, and some might observe 70 or 80 or might be 100% who are enlightened beings. Okay, the percentage of variation, the percentage or level of observation will vary from person to person based on his capacity. Okay. uh, when when we uh, when we say observation, what is the basic purpose of observing things in life? It could be in physical or it could be in any part of the life. Observation plays a vital role, but there is a supreme purpose behind observation. The supreme purpose of observation is to disidentify our consciousness from our bodies, or in a way we can say to disengage ourselves from what we are identified with. uh, as an example, if we take it, when we are identifying with our body or emotional physical body or emotional body or mind, uh, we are either into pain, or it could be into suffering, or it could be pleasure also. But can all hear me?
Anna.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So when we get identified with any object, the object has the control over us. Rather, we are not controlling the object. Then that process might become an automated one, wherein the object starts controlling us whenever it wants. Okay, and we will not be conscious enough, especially when we are in control of that objects. What happens when we in case if we learn how to observe, what are the changes will happen? Let's see some of the points. Okay. uh, First and foremost thing, when we learn or when we try to observe ourselves, we will see a kind of when we observe physically, we might see our health getting improved because of the observation. Okay. Maybe we could observe certain things which are not required, or we could observe certain things where we need to do to be healthy. Okay. And also we can see happiness, increasing of happiness in life. Also we can see success in life. Also we can see prosperity in life. It also helps in creating right relationships with others, because when we observe, we start observing ourselves initially, then later on as the level of observation increases, then we will start observing the other person. Are we in control of other person, or other is the other person controlling us? Or are we so conscious, so observant that we are coming to know whether other person is trying to hypnotize us, or trying to say something wherein we agree upon it blindly? Okay. Also, when we have observation, we decide our own life. We gain control over ourselves, and we can control all the mechanical actions and reactions of the other people that are aimed towards us. There is one important point which Torquem mentioned, which I would like to quote over here. A person who does not know how to observe is identified with everything. He could be identified with money, he could be identified with possessions, he could be identified with his knowledge, he could be identified with his achievements, he could be identified with anything which he relates to himself. What exactly happens when we uh, observe? Now, observation can happen at all levels, but at any level, what exactly happens? When we observe, it creates a kind of distance between ourselves and the object we are observing. The more we observe, the more we create the distance. The more we create the distance, the more control we will have over the object. I would like to repeat this once again. The more we observe, the more we create distance between the object and the observer. The more we create distance between the object and the observer, the more control we will have over the object rather than object controlling us. It all depends on the level of observation we are having over that object. If we do not have control over certain objects or elements, then it means that we are in their control. Okay. uh, let's look at the process of observation. uh, I think this is mentioned in the consciousness volume. Mostly people, all of you might remember the diagram where he mentioned about the identification, the initial phase where no observation happens, where he says that it could be a thought, it could be an event, it could be an activity, anything, whatever we do, we don't do, or whatever we have, we'll get identified with it. We are one with the observer and the object are one and the same in that stage. When we start observing slowly, there will be a separation happening between the object and the observer. Now separation will not happen at one instance, nor not in a single instance, nor in few days. It might take a while based on the level of observation we are developing within ourselves. When we go more deeper into the observations, the object will start losing its control on us, and the observer will be in total control of the object, which is not self. This is the last stage wherein the object which we are observing will not have its control on us. Rather, we would be in control of that object. There are a couple of ways on how to observe is mentioned in these particular chapters. Okay, first and foremost thing what we are going to observe is what is that which is very obnoxious, or any behavior which is different within us. We are going to start the observation from ourselves rather than uh, observing others or outside things. Okay, we need to start observing at all four levels initially. uh, we could say it physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. This we are only observing at our level. After this, when we are developing ourselves at this physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual level, then the most important thing to remember while observing ourselves or others is uh, before moving to this point, one more thing is uh, when after observing our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, the same thing we can observe in the other person, people around us. It could be in groups or it could be individually, anything. So that is the second thing what we are going to do. Once we start observing ourselves, we also start observing the surroundings, we also start observing the people around us. After this, the most important point, which is very crucial when we are observing ourselves and also when we are observing others, is we should never criticize when we are observing. It could be ourselves or others. The reason behind uh, this is, when we criticize, we will get identified with what we are criticizing. Please remember this point. When we criticize anything, we will get identified with whatever we are criticizing. Okay. For example, I can say, when we observe any kind of behavior, okay, we should not say to ourselves that it's bad or good, or it might be it is great or it is small. Okay. So when we do not criticize, we are creating a kind of distance between ourselves and the objects. The main purpose behind the science of observation is create consistently creating that distance between the object and the observer. Now this can happen when we are not going to criticize nor judge what exactly we are observing. This will help us create more distance between ourselves and the object. Okay. The third step which uh, the third step which is very sensitive is, when we observe, we'll come to know n number of things. Okay. We will come we will get ours we will come to know obnoxious behaviors of ourselves. We will get to know different different kinds of things wherein which we might have taken from past, or which we might have learned from, could be televisions or could be some people which we might have learned from, unknowingly learned certain things, or different kinds of mask. Okay. The most important thing when you observe such kind of things is, you need to see how can you change that. How can you change that? It could be a behavior, it could be one example which Torkham mentions. Okay. There was a young girl. Uh, she had to go out for a dinner with his friend. Okay. And his friend turns up at her home. He wears a red color jacket. When she sees the red color jacket, something triggers from her subconscious mind. Okay. And she hesitates to go with him for a dinner, and she tries to give multiple reasons for not going to dinner with him. Then when she visits the master and she tells that the situation, she explains about what exactly happened. Then master tells her, 15 years back, if you remember, there was a guy who kidnapped you. He was wearing the same red color jacket, and that red color jacket was feeded into your subconscious mind, and which triggered, you could not identify that the person who is wearing this red color jacket is a different one. And because the subconscious mind doesn't know the differentiation, the differentiation can be done only by the conscious mind. Conscious mind can be only done when we are keenly observing the current thing. Uh, he also says that the best way to change ourselves is to increase the voltage of observation, so that it will break the identity with that object. Voltage of observation, increasing the voltage of observation. There are a couple of conditions which teaching suggests. These conditions are suggested by Master Moria. Okay. The one which he says is tolerance, patience. Okay. Because it will give us an ample amount of time to study the object in an impartial way. Whenever we are looking at any object, we have to look at it in a without any any prejudices, or without in a way I could say with naked eyes. We need to see what it is, we need to see as it is. We cannot have our own past experience or past understandings of the object, we cannot see through those eyes. So but for that we need to have a kind of tolerance wherein we can see it in an impartial way. Okay. The second most important thing is, when we observe each thing in a particular way. We might be observing in a one way, but what he says is we need to have multiple viewpoints when we are observing as an object. Now that object could be anything. If you are observing a thing in anything, if you are observing something in a physical way, try to observe it in multiple ways. It could be uh, putting yourself or empathizing yourself, putting yourself in the other shoes, or you could think in a perspective of a politician, or you could think in a perspective of a spiritual person, you could think in a perspective of an enlightened being. How, what would be the viewpoint if you see, if you think in their way? Okay. We have to increase our viewpoints for a better observation. When we observe an object from one end, it is different, and when it is observed from all sides, it will be holistically. So holistically observing things is the best way, is what he says. Okay. uh, when we observe, the main thing what happens is we will discover our real nature. When we observe any kind of object, we will come to know, are we that object or we are something else? Then when we start observing each and everything in our, it could be physical, emotional, mental nature. Okay. We will start dropping all those things which we are not. Then at last what will remain is our true nature. That is where the science of observation will take us. Okay. When we observe things, what Turkham says is, we should observe them, we should observe their form, what is its substance, what is the quality of it, what is the purpose of it, what is the cause behind it, and what is its effect. Now these are the things which we need to remember whenever we are observing. Hope everyone are aware of the form, the quality, the purpose, and the cause. Where normally in every aspect of the thing we look at these things. I would like to read out a paragraph which in one of the chapter Master Moria's what he says exclusively on observation. Master Moria says that you do not need to go to a university to learn the science of observation. Everybody can get a PhD in observation. You can observe the color of your eyes, your smile, how you behave, how you talk. Okay. There is an observation that is physical, there is an observation that is emotional, an observation that is mental, an observation that is spiritual. These four observations you are going to observe first within yourself, within your thoughts, words, behavior, and emotional actions and reactions. Then, after you learn not to criticize yourself through your observation, then you will observe others without criticizing. Okay. You are not going to say, for example, he's a crook, he's a bad man. You are going to observe first. If you observe without criticism, you do not borrow or import their weakness into the character. I would like to repeat the last thing. If you observe without criticism, you do not borrow or import their weaknesses into your character. Also, in one of the chapter, there is one more paragraph which I feel I to read it. Okay. What happens at the final stage of observation? He says freedom belongs to those who are fused with their own true self. We can come to the true self when we go to the depths of observation when we disidentify ourselves with our not self. That is where we know we are in our true self. Okay, there is no freedom for one who is identified with his vehicles of expressions. Now, vehicles of expressions, it could be physical, emotional, mental, it could be anything. Okay, as we get closer to our true self, we radiate beauty, goodness, righteousness, joy, and freedom. This is because the self is beauty, goodness, righteousness, joy, and freedom. Your physical life radiates that inner beauty. All your actions, deeds, and movements become beautiful. And this happens at all levels. This can happen at physical level, this can happen at emotional level, this can happen at mental level, and also this can happen at spiritual level. Okay. uh, there is one example which I would like to share uh, from my personal experience about this observation, how it impacts us sometimes. Okay, a few weeks back, one of my friend is there. I mean, who whom I've spoke to uh, few weeks back. Okay, and when the last conversation happened, there was a conversation wherein it was not so it didn't well, went well. Okay, then after that, I was in an assumption that next time whenever he calls, he would be discussing about it. Okay, and luckily few days back he called me up. When he called me up, suddenly something came from my subconscious mind that he's going to discuss about that topic. So I was hesitant enough to pick his call when I got his call. But I was observing myself. Then after few seconds, then I was back to the normal state and I picked his call. Then I came to know that the reason behind he calling me was a altogether a different reason. We never spoke about the incident which happened couple of weeks back. This is how the observation helps in all aspects of the life is what I wanted to say. Uh, that's all from my end. If you guys have anything to share on this observation part, your experiences or anything, maybe you can start sharing it.